everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. I am Tom Baker, and I will be joined as always by Steering Wheel Nation's news editor, Jacob Seelman. And this show is powered by Miller Tech Energy. You've got a bunch of race weekends coming up. Whether you own an RV, a boat, or a golf cart, reliable power is not optional. Miller Tech is the solution to the reliable power problem. No hassle, 10-year warranty. It is an Amish-owned company, so you know the quality is there. MillerTechEnergy.com is the place to go for your next battery purchase. You can use NASCAR 10 for 10% off your order at Miller Tech, and we appreciate the folks from Miller Tech for being a part of what we're doing here. Jacob, it is time to roll into the starting line, and this past weekend was a new era in NASCAR in multiple ways, perhaps, and you're going to start us off by talking about a change at the top of NASCAR's executive chain.
Yes, and this was announced perhaps appropriately on Saturday at Talladega Super Speedway, which of course back in 1969 was where the drivers boycotted, and Bill France Sr. said the race is going on whether y'all want to be a part of it or not. So maybe appropriate that we get a change in leadership at a place where so much leadership was shown over the years, some 50 or 55 years ago now. But yes, Steve O'Donnell, longtime NASCAR fixture, most recently NASCAR president, is now the first non-France family member to be named NASCAR CEO in the 78-year history of the sport. And with that, that also means that Ben Kennedy takes over what was a lot of Steve O'Donnell's duties by becoming the new NASCAR Chief Operating Officer. Of course, Ben, the great-grandson of Bill France Sr. and the son of Lisa France Kennedy, who is the executive vice chair. These two appointments coming as Jim France takes a step back from the day-to-day leadership of the sport. He'll still be the chairman. He'll still be the majority owner, but Steve and Ben going to be the faces of the present into what we hope is a really positive future direction for NASCAR. Tom, what does this mean? I'm optimistic. The drivers sound optimistic. Are you optimistic?
Cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic. Here's the interesting thing about this change for me is that I feel like although Steve O'Donnell has been around NASCAR for a long time now, longer than I think a lot of people realize.
31 years.
The reason I'm optimistic here is because although he's been around that long, I don't feel like this is sort of a passing of the torch to the next old school, old guard kind of leader. I feel like Steve O'Donnell is more like one of the boys than he is like one of the suits, so to speak. And so what I'm hoping that we get here is we get a little bit more of a fan-first attitude in the C-suite than we've had in recent years. And I think that, I've seen some things today from people in the industry who sort of compare Steve more to a beer and pretzels guy than a wine and cheese guy. And that's what I'm counting on here with this, because if he can focus on fans first, we can bring this sport back. It is certainly not too late, but you're going to have to really change the way that you do things and look at things from where we've had it the last 20 or 25 years. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Ben Kennedy, I think, is a very bright young mind. He's won races as a driver. He's been a team owner.
Still is a team owner.
Yeah, my only concern with Ben is that Ben also likes to tinker. I don't think that NASCAR needs to be tinkering so much. I don't think we need, races at the LA Memorial Coliseum or whatever. I don't think we need, cup cars on quarter miles. I think we need to remember what built NASCAR, and I think we need to go back in that direction. And so I do think this is a significant change. And I will say the next piece of the starting line we get into is going to indicate to me that at least for the moment, for this little moment in time, Steve O'Donnell is 1-0 in my book in good calls. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic here. I do think that Steve O'Donnell, if you're going to turn it over to somebody who's in the group already, I think Steve O'Donnell is the right guy.
So before we get deeper into towards bullet number 2, I actually want to go a tiny bit off script and read a small portion of Steve-O's letter to the fans, which was published just before the green flag of the Talladega Cup race Sunday afternoon. To the best fans in sports, I don't like being in the news. No one who works for NASCAR should like being in the news. We're not the story. Our racing heroes are. So yesterday, that being Saturday, I hope your attention was focused on Andy Jankowiak winning the ARCA race in a wild finish, or Corey Day's first victory in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. But amid all the deserved coverage devoted to that, you did see some personnel shifts here at NASCAR. I'll skip down a little bit because this is the part that really stuck out to me. We have much work ahead of us. I say we because I can't do this alone. I'm lucky to have a fantastic group working with me and the best team of consultants in the world. You, the race fans, your voice will be as important as ever. I'm fired up. I'm fired up for what's ahead. This is my 31st season at NASCAR, but my promise to you all is that I will wake up each morning like it's day one, energized to preserve and grow the sport we all love so much. I like a lot of what I hear in that, and I also like that Steve was very deliberate in saying that the race fans' voices will be important, because a lot of what we saw over the weekend at Talladega, specifically in the Cup race, the fans didn't like. I didn't like it. You didn't like it. I don't know that a lot of people did like it. And I think NASCAR is aware of that there was a lot of noise over the weekend. I am cautiously optimistic too, Tom, that this sounds like somebody who knows that they have things to fix and is prepared to sink his teeth in and get his hands dirty to help fix it.
Yeah, it's different. Now I know that, Steve was somewhat a part of all the mess that was, the lawsuit and texts and quotes and all that kind of thing. But I also think that Steve was, in some ways, because I went back and did some research this morning, Steve is in some ways was kind of the guy going, okay, can we just stop already? Exactly. And so I think that maybe, there's an adult in the room, so to speak now. Look, yesterday was a good example. I mean, listening to some of the industry shows today, the drivers didn't like the racing yesterday at Talladega. The Cup drivers didn't like it at all. Yeah. It's not what they want to do. We've got to fix what's going on the track. That's the biggest priority we have. Yeah. It's not taking the Clash to new markets. It's not trying to go out of the U.S. and race in Brazil or some other far-off place. It's simply trying to fix the product. Because before you go hit new markets, you should have your product perfected. And I don't think this is the best NASCAR Cup Series we can have right now.
I agree.
It's not awful, okay, but it sometimes is. And yesterday I wouldn't call it awful. I would just call it not great. And again, we won't even get into Fox's debacle. I think that was possibly the worst Fox NASCAR broadcast I've ever seen. But I think this is good for NASCAR to have Steve O'Donnell in charge. I just hope Steve follows through on what he says. Talk is cheap. Show me. let's bring back some of the old fashioned excitement. And we saw a great example of that at the end of the Cup race in
Yes,
Victory
we did.
Lane.
Yes, we did, because breaking news, the hurricane has made landfall.
Yeah.
Carson Hocevar scores his first Cup Series win at Talladega and becomes the Sealman Stat of the Week by becoming the 13th driver in Cup Series history to earn their first career points-paying win in Premier Series competition at the largest track on the circuit. Now, why is that notable? Of the previous 12, half of them, that would be 6 for those who need the math, half of them never won another Cup Series race for the rest of their lives. It was one and done. Kenny Wallace and a whole bunch of other people are saying on podcasts and social media and the like, a superstar might be born. Okay, Tom, I'll just ask the question. Are you agreeing with them?
No. Not for the reasons they are saying it. Okay, let me explain this. I do think that Carson Hocevar is a superstar in the making, but I thought that 2 years ago. I thought that after his first year in the Truck Series. Look, the only thing we've been waiting for is for Carson to stop beating himself. And lately, he hasn't been beating himself as much.
Correct.
And look at the difference in the results.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think this win yesterday suddenly out of the blue makes him a superstar. Now, what happened after the race may qualify, but what just winning a Cup race, there's a lot of people that have won a Cup race. They're not considered superstars. Kenny Wallace and the rest of the group aren't talking about them. I mean, Austin Dillon's won how many? Who's calling him a superstar? No offense to Austin. I'm a huge fan. But I think what makes him a superstar isn't just that he finally won a race. It's the fact that, he's been a contender in every level that he's competed in since he was a little Carson. And I just think this yesterday, look, it's a super speedway race. I want to see him win, obviously, somewhere else. And I think he's going to win plenty before he's done. But I'm not ready to call him the next Dale Earnhardt yet. Okay. I just think we can let him be the first Carson Hocevar and be quite happy with that, because the first Carson Hocevar is going to have a great career in the Cup Series as long as he grows and matures and continues to do the things he needs to do to finish races so he can win them.
Yes, and by the way, I will add to that. Thank you for making the first Carson Hocevar comment, because we don't need another Dale Earnhardt, even if the Chili's paint scheme was designed to evoke Dale Earnhart.
Well, okay. But again, I want him to be Carson. I don't want him to be somebody else. Somebody said I think it was Kenny this morning, also said he's a little bit Richard Petty. Where's the cowboy hat? What you got in your coffee this morning, Kenny? Come on, buddy. Yeah. I mean, come on. Wearing a cowboy hat doesn't make a Richard Petty. Just let him be Carson, and let's stop comparing him to everybody else.
Let's remind everybody, by the way, that Carson already has as many top fives this season in 10 races as he had in his first 81 races combined. Yes. So, yes, the not beating yourself bit, it definitely pays off.
That's correct.
Now, you alluded to the part that may, or at least has made him a legend for the moment, and I will argue will keep him a legend in Talladega Superspeedway history for the rest of time. Amen. Because his victory celebration, climbing half out of the car, sitting on the window, and driving the car so that he could see the fans, A+ 10,000%. I don't know what fever dream he cooked that up in prior to attempting it the first time at Freedom Factory because of course this would tie into Cletus McFarland
Naturally.
somehow. But regardless, whatever fever dream it came from, Carson, you deserve a medal and a gold star because to me, be memorable. Be the story for the right reasons. That was the right reason. I thought it was absolutely unbelievable. My jaw was on the floor when I realized what was happening in real time. And there was a moment I thought to myself, oh, Carson, do not fall out of that race car. And it was a thing of beauty, was it not?
It was. And the thing is, and you're right, this is how you make yourself memorable. Okay. Look, this, and people are saying, oh, this was, it's another thing that he was trying to do the Earnhardt thing at Richmond. We got out, was cleaning the windshield. It's like, no, he actually wasn't. Here, the real background on that is he wanted to create some way for the fans to sort of see him appreciating them. And so instead of the typical burnout that I'm so sick and tired of, because everybody does them and they all are exactly the same thing, it's a bunch of freaking smoke. Do something different. Create something new. Carson Hocevar did that.
Yes.
And then people were like, oh, there'll be a rule on Tuesday. I said, I hope not. Because
Steve O'Donnell said it. Steve O'Donnell's not banning it. That was the second. When Steve crashed Carson's press conference, by the way, Carson apologizes to Steve and then later asks, is it banned? Steve goes, good with it.
Well,
1-0, Steve. 1-0.
There is a little bit of an asterisk there, though. He said, I don't really want to see you hit the wall anymore.
He did. He did. When he nosed into the wall for the burnout, he did hit it a little harder than I think he meant to.
Keep it off the wall. But no, it's, again, you've got to allow for that kind of creativity because there just isn't enough of it anymore. And, this is what has been missing from NASCAR for a long time is you haven't had drivers that were able to sort of put themselves on a limb like that and do something different. There was nothing wrong with that. And if you ban that out of safety concerns, you'd have to ban the rooftop climb because, after all, Connor Zilic fell off the car and hit his head, right?
No, broke his collarbone.
Well, but still, he hit that. We already know there was an injury from trying to climb to the roof, right? You'd have to ban. Carl Edwards could have never done a backflip, right? Because all of these things carry some risk, right? So, I think Steve looked at this with some common sense. First of all, and I've seen a couple drivers today actually agree with me. Carson's about the only one in the series with long enough legs to pull that off.
Yes.
At this point, Michael Waltrip's retired. So, he would have been the other one. But there's, most of these drivers are too doggone short. They don't have long enough legs to pull it off. So, I don't think we have to worry, and I'm not sure that this is going to become a signature thing for Carson anyway. I think this was a kind of an instinctive thing, and he said, you know what, I'm going for it, and he did it, and it was cool. And, again, everybody's making a big deal out of Cletus, and I'm not taking away, but, we've had personalities in this series before Cletus showed up. It's just people don't give him any credit. Noah Gregson's got a personality. Carson Hocevar's got a personality. There are a number of drivers in this series that have really awesome personalities, and people used to focus on him. And then Cletus shows up, and all of a sudden that's everybody's, go-to guy. And it's like, I think Carson Hocevar did establish himself as he got a lot of fans out of what happened at Talladega.
Absolutely. Third and final starting line topic here, and this one has created plenty of discourse in the industry. IndyCar, in a move that some of us kind of foreshadowed, but they've now confirmed it, will no longer allow non-chartered entries in any race except for the Indianapolis 500 beginning next year. Supposedly, in theory, maybe the move is designed to let vendors plan better, for whatever that means in IndyCar's head, and may, keyword may, raise the value of a team charter. Do you, Tom, like this decision? I'll quickly go first and say, dear IndyCar, why? This is not good.
Correct. It's not good, but it's what IndyCar wants. I mean, I have said for years that IndyCar's dream is to become the American Formula One. And that's basically where this takes them, because this is the F1 model.
Yep.
And, you know, I think the worst part of it is, you know, one of the things that always made the Indy 500 special was that you had a lot of innovation, you had a lot of creativity, and you always had, you know, extra entries and some intrigue that it took everything you had just to make it into the race. Now we've got exactly 33 entries with the addition of Catherine Legg in the third Foyt car, supported by Penske. And, you know, look, I'm happy for Catherine. It's the best shot she's ever had. It's going to be great equipment. But the fact is that nobody really has to practice quite as hard now, because nobody's in danger of not making the race. Everybody that shows up is going to qualify. And I think that takes away a little bit of the prestige and also the drive and the suspense that happens all month long at Indy in preparation for this race. So it's still the Indy 500. It's still the greatest spectacle in racing. But honestly, if there's only 33, I really don't care about qualifying, because I could care less who starts where. It's a 500-mile race. So I have less incentive to even pay attention to qualifying now, because there's no chance that, unless they crash out and can't fix a car, there's no chance that any of these drivers don't make the event.
And nobody will push the limit like that, because they know there's no chance of them missing the event, as long as they keep the car in one piece and put it in the show. So you're not going to see the drama of those runs that have to try and squeeze every ounce of the car just to make the show. The mystique of making the 500 is not there when you're all 33 guaranteed in. And to me, that's what I grew up on, was the mystique. I mean, granted, I was very, very young, but the historian in me knows all about 1995 and the year that had the horrible, no good, very bad, awful, we went home Indy 500 for Team Penske. And, you know, you just don't have that anymore. You don't have that risk anymore. And that hurts my heart as an IndyCar fan.
A year later, Joe Gozick from Oswego, New York, from an Oswego Speedway Supermodified driver in 1996, all month long has problems with his ride and didn't look like he was going to even have a shot. And at the 11th hour, he gets into a 6th or 7th Scandia entry and drops it into the race at the last possible moment on bump day. And you won't have those stories anymore. No. And that's really a shame. I don't like the direction that this series is being taken in some of these regards. And I just don't think it's good for the fan interest in it.
No.
But nonetheless,
I'll just add too that we got to keep in mind, these are a lot of the same business people that were tasked with the kart mothership, and look how that turned out.
Exactly. Yeah. Disaster that was. And we're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, it's time for the America's Racers segment, and we're going to talk some NHRA right after this.
MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point. either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the show. It is time now for our America's Racers segment. And Jacob, we start with NHRA because I was actually there at ZMAX.
You were. ZMAX Dragway, of course, hosting the annual 4-wide Nationals, the only 4-lane NHRA national event of the season. A lot of big stories. Quick shout-outs to Matt Hartford in Pro Stock, Gage Herrera in Pro Stock Motorcycle, who won their respective classes. But, of course, the stars of the Nitro show, Polita obliterated everybody in Top Fuel. He destroyed the track speed record, went a monster 342.98 mile per hour paths to win against Tony Stewart, Leah Pritchett, and Sean Langdon. That's a quad. But the guy that was the most fun interview that you saw was Ron Capps, who got his 79th career funny car win. That's most among active drivers. He beat his current rival, Matt Hagan, to do it. Your thoughts, Tom, on the show that you saw? Because just from Nitro classes alone, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I haven't missed a 4-wide in the last number of years, and I thought this was the best crowd I'd seen in a spring show in a while. I thought it was the best racing I'd seen in a while. Overall, everybody seemed to be in a very, very good mood, and the track was fast with a little bit of rain that caused some havoc at the very beginning on Sunday, right in the first quad of the opening Nitro round. But once we got past that, it was great. And to see guys like Coletta and Capps go out and do what they did against the quality of field in those two divisions was amazing. It was fun to see Tony Stewart and Leah Pritchard, Leah
Pruitt
run together, in a final. And, I think that there's some hope here for NHRA going forward because, again, it was a very, very big crowd and a great day of racing. But I want to get to just a little bit of the Ron Capps interview. You'll see the full interview on Steering Wheel Nation. We'll tell you where later. But here's a clip from it. It was the opening clip, actually, where he talks about the win. Let's check that out.
Ron joins us after winning here at ZMAX. This is your second win of 2026. I believe your 79th win overall. And
are you sure?
What they said, I could be. We'll just call it your second win of the year.
78?
Yeah. And you also
78 overall.
Overall. Because you got that pesky Top Fuel win. Remember that one. And you're also #1 qualifier here at ZMAX. What a weekend.
The weekend. What a weekend's right. I
don't need another one.
I still can't believe it. You have cars like this at times in your career, and you just don't want to mess up as a driver. It sounds funny, it sounds strange, but you're given something that leaves the trailer with Guido's blessing and all the knobs turn the right direction to go win a race. And any driver will tell you this. And if they don't, they're lying. But it's like you're given this to not screw up and to cut a light and most importantly, drive it. Keep it as straight as possible. On a funny car, it's just not. It's not that it's not possible. It's not probable to do that time and time again. These things are just so out of control. So as long as I've been driving, it's been that sort of thing. But when you have a car like I've had all weekend, and especially leading into the final, you as good as it is, you know it's capable of winning. And I sat here last night, right? Got beat on a hole shot in the Mission Foods thing, and that irked me pretty good overnight. So I was just trying to be on my game. And the four wides bring such a unique mentality to everything. So, I'm getting older and older, but it's just so much fun to get up there and have the confidence from everybody on the team that I could still do it in the seat. And this is cool because it's the only race four wides. It's one of my favorite places. It's the coolest people that come out. It's all of our NASCAR friends that come out, and the fans really showed. You couldn't even walk through the pit area yesterday and today. It was insane. So just want to thank everybody at this track, especially. Just so fun. It's fun when everybody comes together and just raises the tide of everything. And Sunday night's over with, and you can look back and say, man, everybody came together and really made this a great event.
A lot of fun for Ron Capps. Listening to him chat about a victory, Capps always just entertainment value for the NHRA. We turn, though, to sprint cars for a couple minutes, as I always love to do. World of Outlaws was in action over the past weekend at the sprint car capital of the world, Knoxville Raceway, where we had the most recent two Outlaw champions in victory lane, because Brad Sweet, or some old retired guy, as he calls himself now, goes to win on night one in the Paul Silva 94. David Gravel, Mr. Two-Time, wins the Saturday finale. Tom, are we seeing the latest chapter of High Limit versus Outlaws chirping? Because Brad, as he said Friday night, goes, I guess round one goes to us, since he is the co-owner of High Limit.
Well, I guess it's good that people are talking about it like that. I don't really look at it that way. There's two groups of racers. There's two different sanctioning bodies, and any one of the top racers could cross over and win, at any moment, no matter which way it's going back and forth. And Brad Sweet obviously is one of the best of the modern era, if not one of the best of all time. So it's no surprise. Sure. And then, of course, David Gravel turns around and dominates Saturday action. So
for his first win in a month, by the way, everybody's like, where did David Gravel go? Oh, there he is. Yeah, he hasn't forgotten how to do this. Also in sprint car world, in this edition of Things We Saw on the Internet, a Port Royal Speedway racer in the Pennsylvania 305 Sprint Series, Nick Schweigert, was banned for a year from the port for his victory lane comments, which included 3 F-bombs in the interview and negative comments toward the track conditions. In other words, the track sucked, end quote. You've been a track manager, Tom, and a promoter. What's your take?
Okay, number one, I'll just start before I make anybody mad and say that right off the top, a year's suspension for this? No. I wouldn't have actually suspended him at all. I would, however, have taken a good chunk of money out of his bank account before he came back and raced. I think we went a little overboard there, but I will say this. I am so tired of people excusing bad language. Okay, can we just, I know this is, 120 years ago, but when I was younger, my parents would threaten to put soap in my mouth if I cussed like some people do today. I'm sorry, but it's foul language. Stop it. When we normalize bad behavior, this is the kind of stuff you get. And so I do agree he needed to be reprimanded for this. I wouldn't have sat him out for a whole year. That just seems insane to me. But look, we've got to do something to just get the discourse better. Definitely not a year's suspension, Jacob. I mean, you can't support that.
No, and I don't support it. In fact, most of the racers and a lot of industry people don't support it. I saw most of the discourse I saw was basically looking at Port and going, "What are y'all doing? For real?" No, I don't get it either. Yes, he needed to be reprimanded. Yes, he probably needed to be fined, but to be set out for a year when this is some people's livelihoods? No, absolutely not. Don't agree. And on that note, I'm going to drive the boat, say we're going to take our final break, and then I'll drive the boat right into the last lap segment where Tom's got a lot to talk about right after this.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.
Welcome back to the show as we go into our final segment of the evening. It is our last lap segment, Jacob, and we're going to start where I started, in Oswego, New York.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And to quote the title of a 1992 Damon Wayans movie, "Mo money, mo money, mo money." The Oswego Speedway has pumped a ton of it into the Big Block Super Modified Point Fund for 75 years, the 75th anniversary season at the Steel Palace, to $25,000 for the weekly point fund this year. That to me made my eyes pop. Jim Champagne Memorial, the 61 lapper purse, going to be a cool 40 grand. The Nicotra Oswego Challenge Series has its own $25,000 point fund this year. You've got the always lucrative 10 grand to win Mr. Super Modified and the 15 grand to win Bud Classic, of which this year is the 70th running of that race. So if you're a super modified racer in upstate and central New York, this would be a really good time to go race at Oswego, you think?
Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you what I love about this the most is that when you couple that with the combined purses of all the rest of the races on the schedule at Oswego, we've got to be pushing somewhere north of about $150,000, I would guess, for the season that's available. So this is probably the richest Oswego Speedway season, if not in history, at least in a long, long, long time. And I know the ISMA MSS Tour for the Big Block Supers, it's the richest ISMA MSS Tour ever, 4 shows with 10 grand to win purses. Look, I mean, I hope this is what it takes to bring the field at Oswego back up above 15 to 17 cars a week. Maybe it's good enough to make commitment cars out of some of the part-timers from Canada, New England, and the Midwest. We'll have to see, but I am really, really, really excited about what this could do for super modified racing at the Fast 5/8 of a mile up in Oswego, New York. All the races on Flow Racing this year, make sure you catch one. There's nothing like a super modified race on a Saturday.
You and I both agree on that. All right, I'm going to pivot now to our MillerTech Power Performer Vote of the Week, of course, powered by our partners at MillerTech Energy, of which, again, if you've got an RV boat or golf cart, reliable power is not optional. Their premium lithium batteries will keep you going. No hassle, 10-year warranty on all of those. Code NASCAR 10 for 10% off your order. Our 4 nominees, Tom: Carson Hocevar. Why? Obviously, he won a cup race for the first time.
Sure.
Corey Day, he won an O'Reilly race for the first time. And oh, by the way, he won in a high-limit sprint car at Eagle, Nebraska earlier in the week before that. Andy J, he won in an ARCA car for the first time. You see where this theme is going here. More on Andy in a minute. And we mentioned him earlier, 79 career wins for Ron Capps. It's his 5th win at Charlotte and 3 straight final rounds. Who do you like off that list for Power Performer this week?
Oh, man, I have got to go with Andy J here because his first win at Talladega in the ARCA Menard Series, he's been so close. Last lap, shootout to the finish line with Cletus McFarland, who also did a really
Would have
nice
thought
job.
that.
And Andy J gets a win and then gets booed by Cletus's fans. What are you guys doing, man? Andy J gets the win, and I'm voting for Andy as the Miller Tech Power Performer. Are you going to agree?
I actually am not. We are not unanimous this week. I actually am going with the fan vote on this one because we ended up with about 62% of our poll on social media because I did finally get Twitter numbers back in time. Things stopped breaking for a change. 62% of the fans voted for Mr. Double Dip, Corey Day, and I'm going in that direction for Power Performer this week because it takes a special kind of driver, let alone one at 20 years old, to win in a sprint car and then win in an O'Reilly car for the first time. And oh, by the way, it was at Talladega, and the kid had never run a super speedway race in his life before Saturday. If that doesn't impress you, I don't know what does. No, I'm going with Payday on this one, as the sprint car folks call him, because I thought Corey's week as a whole was hugely impressive to me.
Far be it for me to go against, I would go against you 6 out of 7 days. You know that because that's how we are.
Yes.
But far be it for me to go against our fans. If our fans want Corey Day, then Corey Day gets the Miller Tech Power Performance Award for this week, and well-deserving, as you say. 2 wins for the week, 2 different types of cars on 2 different surfaces. That young man is starting again. You stop beating yourself and you start winning. What a concept.
I know. 9 of the last 10 races he's been in the top 10, including this win. He's up to 4th in the championship. And I do want to go back to the ARCA race that preceded the O'Reilly race for a minute and just say, Andy J. eats a delivery during the week, delivers a trophy on the weekend. And for Kevin LaPierre and Andy Seiss, the co-owner of Kloss Motorsports, I just wanted to give Andy a shout out. That team has worked so hard. I was stoked for them.
Yeah, not a more deserving bunch of people in that pit area than they were. And the ARCA race and the O'Reilly's race were 100 times better than the Cup race. It was really it was a great day on Saturday for racing because a lot of the short track racing was great, and those 2 races at Talladega were outstanding. With that, we are going to bring this show to a close. Looking forward to next time on the Tom Baker Show. But until then, for more great content, steeringwheelnation.com is the online home, at the SWN Media on Facebook, Instagram, and X if you want to reach out to us. And of course, the Inside Groove podcast comes out on Tuesdays. That's our short track podcast, and I've got a lot to talk about on that show this week. Dial it up on SWN. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. So long.